We're ready to start, Greg.
Okay. Good morning. This is Greg Cook with the National Weather Service in Spokane. It's Friday, December 16th. We are going to do a special weather briefing this morning to highlight the potential for snow and cold temperatures. This is a follow-up briefing to the briefing that we had on Wednesday to discuss the potential for some extreme weather in the inland Northwest. We have Charlotte Dewey also with the Weather Service on the call today, and she will be able to answer any questions that you put forth in chat, and she's also handling the recording duties for this. So thank you very much, Charlotte. So the crux of our briefing on Wednesday was talking about the potential for 3 different scenarios, potentially for next week. Some of those scenarios talked about extreme temperatures. Some of them talked about heavy snow. So what scenario ultimately looks to be the favored prediction as of this point? Well, it looks like scenario 1, the one we discussed about cold temperatures with periods of light snow, looks to be the majority of the model forecast at this point. There's still some uncertainty about how cold it's going to get and how much snow we are going to receive, but we are downplaying some of the other scenarios that we talked about. So here are some changes from the last briefing. The extreme cold scenario, the scenario where we were talking about low temperatures diving down to 20 degrees below 0 or more, that is looking less likely. We are also downplaying the potential for any heavy snow, any big snow system coming in during the week next week, and that was scenario 2. So scenario 2, scenario 3 have lost favor in the computer weather forecasting world compared to scenario 1. And we're also going to talk about some changes to the forecast looking beyond the middle of next week. We're looking at a warming trend for late next week. That's something that we haven't seen much of over the last several weeks. And that warmer weather will lead up into the holiday weekend, and we'll talk about some potential impacts involved with that as well. So let's talk about some of the things that we have a higher confidence in before we get into some of the other aspects of the forecast. Our first bullet point here is we're going to continue to have well below normal temperatures. And this is not a big change from what we've already experienced the last 3 to 4 weeks. Some of the coldest temperatures we're looking in the forecast will be Monday through Wednesday. And these have to be the potential to be some of the coolest temperatures of the season so far. Our second bullet here, periods of light to moderate snow in the lowlands. We're looking at low elevations accumulations, even including the Spokane metro area, periodically Saturday through Thursday. As we mentioned before, it doesn't look like any big snow events during this time frame next week, but a continuation of the slow burn with the light to moderate snow accumulations similar to what we've seen the last several weeks. Our third bullet point here, moderate to heavy snow. We will have some areas, especially in the mountainous terrain of North Idaho and the Cascade Mountains, that will have the potential to receive some moderate to heavy snowfall next week, and that could have some travel implications. And the last bullet point here is the cold spell erodes late next week into the holiday weekend. We could have some implications as far as mixed precipitation and melting snow. So some of the lower confidence things that we're going to talk about, and we're going to show some probabilities of some of these things happening, is temperatures. We are still unsure just how cold it's going to get. There are a lot of variables that go into this kind of forecast, including cloud cover, just how strong the frontal system is, and how much wind is involved in our forecast. So we'll show you just how cold we think it's going to get with some probabilistic forecast tools that we have. We're also going to look at the potential for some mixed precipitation. Nobody likes to hear the talk about freezing rain or ice, but there is the potential for some of that to occur next week, and we'll show you some probabilities of what may occur in the Wednesday, Thursday timeframe. In the day 8 to 14 time frame, we're looking at the potential for some rises on our rivers and small streams. We have a good amount of snowpack out there, and if we do see these temperatures and the potential for some rain coming to fruition by Thursday, Friday, and into the Christmas weekend, we may be looking at some rises on some of our rivers and streams in the region. Here is our weather matrix here, and we can see in the first couple of days of the forecast, Friday, Saturday, and really even into Sunday, our weather impacts look to be pretty negligible. But the pattern does begin to change a little bit late in the day, Sunday into Monday, and into next week with a more active weather regime with the potential for more precipitation. We also have Tuesday and Wednesday highlighted here for colder temperatures, and they have the potential to be some of the coldest temperatures we've seen so far this winter season. And we have a couple of tiles here highlighted in the orange color for the potential for moderate snow, and these are in our mountainous areas of North Idaho and the Cascade Passes, mainly Tuesday and again on Thursday. So how cold do we expect it to get? Well, here is the probability of temperatures dropping below 0 degrees, and at this point, it looks like Wednesday morning will feature the best combination of clearing skies behind the cold front and light winds. So these are percent chances that the areas on the map could dip below 0 degrees. So how noteworthy would it be for areas to fall below 0? We have a table here on the bottom left that shows the frequency of number of days below 0 per year over the last, in our 30-year climatology. So Moses Lake typically in a year will dip below 0 4 times, Spokane International twice, Pullman twice, and Omac twice. So but what makes this somewhat noteworthy is that the Spokane International Airport has not fallen below 0 since January 16th of 2017. So while it's not terribly unusual for Spokane to fall below 0 climatologically with 2 days per year on average, it hasn't been done in the last 5 or 6 years. So if we do in fact dip below 0 here in Spokane, that will be somewhat noteworthy as far as our recent climate history. So we are seeing some areas here with greater than 50% probability of falling below 0. Areas around Cusick, Colville, Republic, and Omac are all at 50% or so or greater. And you can see a lot of our northern valleys that are protected from the wind. If they do clear out, their chances of reaching 0 or lower will be pretty high. Okay, we looked at a graph like this on Wednesday and talked about, in a probabilistic sense, what our temperature forecast is and how much confidence that we have in it. So we're going to talk about this kind of graph. So the days of the week in the forecast are on the bottom here. So we have a Friday forecast going all the way out to Christmas Eve Saturday. The boxes that are red are the high temperature forecast for those particular days. And then when the boxes that are blue are the low temperature forecasts for those particular days. So what these boxes represent is the number of model solutions and their respective high and low forecasts. So for example, if we go follow my cursor here to next Sunday, 75% of the model solutions will fall within this box for high temperature. So roughly between 20 degrees and 30 degrees, those are the high temperatures, and 75% of the time that forecast will fall within that box. So the probability, or the boxes, are very small for today, Friday, and tomorrow, Saturday, for the Spokane International Airport. Once we start seeing the boxes widen out and get larger, that means there are a lot more model outcomes that are going into the forecast, and that can lead to lower overall confidence the bigger the boxes are. So if we follow the low temperature forecasts, the boxes dip lowest on Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, and Thursday morning. So we have a 3-day time period here where we're looking at our coldest forecast temperatures region-wide. And then looking into the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday time frame, we're seeing our boxes begin to raise on this chart. And we even see some of the forecast temperatures for low temperatures by Friday and Saturday above zero, or excuse me, above freezing, which is something that we haven't seen in a while. So talking about what could be a reasonable forecast for places on this map, let's take a look at the Spokane metro area. This is a low temperature forecast for Wednesday morning. The most likely forecast at this point in time is for a low temperature of 3 degrees at the Spokane metro area. A 20th percentile forecast is -9. So that means there's a 20% chance that we could be as cold as -9. And there are some warmer model solutions that have a temperature as warm as 21 degrees for a low temperature on Wednesday morning. So the spread is still relatively high here, but what we are not seeing on these maps is the -20s, the -30s, some of the very cold temperatures that we saw in some of the model guidance back on Monday or Tuesday several days ago in the week. So the main message here is it looks much less likely for extreme cold weather next week. Let's move on to the snow forecast. So this is a snow forecast map, and this is a forecast map for Sunday through Tuesday. So we're looking at a 3-day forecast period, so keep that in mind. And then on the map are snow forecast amounts for that 3-day period. And this is the most likely snowfall forecast. So this is something around the 50th percentile as far as model solutions go. So we're not seeing anything particularly noteworthy in our lowland areas compared to what we've been experiencing the last couple of weeks. We're looking at about 1/2 inch as a most likely scenario around Moses Lake in Ephrata for a 3-day period. That's not much. For the Spokane area, around 4 to 5 inches as the most likely scenario for a 3-day period. That's not a whole lot either. Where we start to see some higher amounts are when we get into the higher terrain of North Idaho, where we could see as much as 18 or 19 inches at Lookout Pass, as much as 11 inches over a 3-day period in Sandpoint. So how does that compare with a more high case scenario? And this is the 25th a 25% chance of receiving at least this much snow on this map. And we can see some of those numbers begin to creep up closer to 5 to 6 inches around Spokane over that 3-day period, up to as high as 13 inches in Sandpoint. The Columbia Basin still does not look like it's going to get as much snow in this kind of weather regime, with places like Wenatchee, Ephrata, Moses Lake receiving less than an inch, even in a 25% chance scenario. And clicking that up to even higher chance, or an even lower probability, the highest 10% chance, or highest 10% of model scenarios, we're still looking at relatively manageable snow amounts for the majority of our region over a 3-day period, with as much as 7 to 8 inches over a 3-day time frame for Spokane. Amounts begin to get a little more concerning around the North Idaho Panhandle, with places like Coeur d'Alene, Sandpoint, and Bonners Ferry in the 10 to 18 inch regime for a 3-day forecast. So here's the probability of exceeding 8 inches for a 3-day forecast, Sunday through Tuesday. The Columbia Basin, chances there are quite low, but you get into the Cascades and to the mountainous terrain of North Idaho, those chances of getting at least 8 inches in 3 days starts to increase to as much as 59% in Sandpoint, to as much as 85% at Lookout Pass. All right, as we get further into the week next week, by the time we get into the Friday or the Thursday and Friday timeframe, we're looking at our air mass beginning to warm up and moderate. And here are some chances or probabilities for freezing rain or mixed precipitation in that Thursday timeframe, with probabilities between 20 and 30% in the central part of Washington and the Columbia Basin, and also into the Spokane area. And these probabilities may not look very high, but keep in mind this is a day 5 or day 6 forecast. So this is something just to keep on your radar, and keep in mind that as we begin to transition from this much colder air mass regime that we're forecasting to a more mild regime, that there may be the potential for some mixed precipitation and icing as we get closer to next weekend. All right, the long range forecast, the 8 to 14 day outlook. This is valid for December 23rd through the 29th. And this is a pretty significant pattern change to what our continent has been experiencing over the last 3 to 4 weeks. In this time frame, there are probabilities of being at or above average for temperatures are in the 50 to 60% range. And we're looking at above average chances for precipitation of about, the probability of being above average would be about 50%. So this potential pattern shift is something that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. There's still a lot of uncertainty on how much rain we could be seeing as we transition into this more mild regime. But given the amount of snowpack that we have region-wide, and the potential impacts for increased snowmelt and runoff, it's something that we're going to be keeping a close eye on, and you will see messaging from the National Weather Service as we get into this pattern or potential pattern change next week. So in summary, we're looking for periods of snow to start to develop in the Saturday and Sunday time frame, and those chances of snow continuing into the Wednesday and Thursday time frame of next week. We're looking for temperatures to get colder, but we're not looking for the extreme cold that some news outlets were pushing earlier in the week. We're looking for a warming trend in the late next week time frame that could continue well through the holiday period into about the New Year's period as well. And the flooding concerns with that are something that we will be keeping a close eye on, and we'll be producing emails and briefings to keep you up to date on that. So our briefing schedule, we'll do some email briefings through the weekend. We will have also a tentative Monday live briefing at 10 a.m. And we'll continue to monitor the weather through the weekend to see if indeed a live briefing on Monday will be necessary. And please call or email our office with any questions or concerns that you might have. We're open 24/7, even through the weekend. So we'll go ahead and open up the briefing for any questions. See, I need to unmute our folks here. All right, so you should have the option to see your little microphone icon, and you should be able to unmute it if you would like to ask a question. And feel free as well to chat a question for Charlotte to answer while we're fielding verbal questions.
Hi, this is Kathy with Cobble Tribes.
Kathy, I can hear you.
Oh, good. Slide number 2, could you go back to that slide? Oh, it was the other, I'm sorry, it must have been slide number 3. It's this one, yeah.
This one? Okay.
You used to have like a central Washington, you know, for OMAC area and that. I don't see that in there anymore, and I'm just wondering about that.
Okay. Yeah, it is not here on this particular briefing package, and I apologize for that. We'll make sure to get that added for next time.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy, and have a good weekend. Any other questions or comments?
This is Keith Mahan. I'm
Hey,
with.
so
Yes, Keith, go ahead, Keith.
A question on, I was gone for a little bit. What is the projection for snow for around Sandpoint for the first of those 3 days or 3-day periods?
Okay, the most likely snow amount for the 3-day total would be somewhere around 10-11 inches. That would be for Sunday through Tuesday. So is your question how much snow with the first round?
Yeah, that was mainly it. I'm the most likely. I'm about 12 miles east and up in the hills from Sandpoint, so
Okay.
I'll be getting a little bit more.
Okay.
That's it.
Charlotte has that information more available at her fingertips, so we will see what kind of forecast information that she can give to you.
That was an amount for east of Sandpoint, is that correct?
About 12 miles and about 3,000 foot.
So for that location, it looks like for this graphic right here, those readings are closer to 15 inches, 15 to 17 inches for that most likely snow amount for Sunday through Tuesday.
Okay. Well, the
Yeah,
snow
Charlotte.
machine's going to get used.
Yeah, Charlotte, do you have a forecast for, say, Sunday into Monday?
For Sunday into Monday, that amount, that looks closer to the 8 to 10 inch range. So after the Monday time period, it looks like the snow amounts taper off. And so this is showing the accumulation for that total time period. But for Sunday and Monday, for that location, it looks like that's when it gets the most of the accumulation.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Keith. There was somebody else that was asking a question right about the same time Keith did.
This is Tess from Ecology. I was wondering in terms of air quality related forecast, especially in the foothills of east of the Cascades. We can see that there are some, pollutants accumulation at this moment. Do you guys see any any advection like transport winds picking up maybe in the next day or two?
Okay. His question had to deal with air quality, the buildup of particulates, mainly in central Washington. The wind regime is going to be relatively light, and it's going to continue to be that way until we get into, let's take a look at, see. Once we start to see our temperatures beginning to drop, that would be most likely in the Sunday into Monday timeframe when we'll begin to see a little bit more transport winds out of the north or northeast. And then the frequency of these small disturbances coming through the flow pattern Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday should produce at least some improved dispersion there in central Washington. But we are not looking for any really big improvements in the transport winds until we get into the Wednesday and Thursday time frame when our cold air mass begins to move out and we get more of a Pacific influence, and that's when our wind speed should be to significantly increase, would be midweek to the latter part of the week.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. That will help me do my burn ban decisions. Thank you again.
How about winds? Anything that's going to put us into a blizzard range?
Okay, sir, where are you asking about in particular?
Well, I'm in Wenatchee, but just general area.
Okay. At this point, we don't see much of a significant uptick in winds for the Wenatchee area or the Waterville Plateau, and not even that much wind for the OMAC area. One of the things that, as we've noticed, as the temperature forecast has begun to moderate a little bit, we're not looking for that extreme cold push that some of the models were predicting several days ago. That generally, those milder solutions mean less north wind coming down the Okanagan Valley than we were seeing a couple of days ago, which is good news for places like OMAC and the Waterville Plateau. So at this point, we're not seeing any significant winds for central Washington to produce problems with blowing and drifting.
Great, thanks.
All right. Well, I will stay on for another 3 to 5 minutes or so in case you would like to ask more questions. And please, by all means, shoot us an email, give us a call here at the office if you have anything that crops up here over the next couple of hours that you want to ask us. And other than that, we will tentatively plan on having another phone call on Monday at 10 a.m. So until then, have a great weekend, and we can chat again about weather on Monday.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a good weekend.
Greg, there was a question about the link for the Monday call And I had just answered that when we send out the recording and the slides from today,
Okay.
we'll send out the link for the Monday call in that email.
Okay, that sounds good. We probably need to actually make a meeting and go to for that.